They're making more money than they have ever made in the history of the music business.
For over a century, Black artists have been exploited by the music industry. This is the story of how some survived and fought back.
That is just a taste of a brand new CBC documentary series called Paid in Full, The Battle for Black Music. It looks at the systemic racism Black artists faced and face in the music industry, and you can stream it on CBC Gem as of this Saturday, September the 21st. You'll probably recognize that fantastic voice. No surprise, she's an amazing narrator as well. Jully Black is with me this morning. You're good at that.
Thank you. You know, I try new things.
Well, good at everything you do. Thanks for coming in. We haven't seen you since the days of Paris over there at Canada Olympic House. You did an incredible show for the Canada Olympic House and an incredible job on this. The Battle of Black Music, a new documentary series. Idris and Sabrina Elba are the exec producers. You are the narrator. And as we were coming on the air today, you have to see this. Why? What makes it so compelling?
I think that people will get a sense of just the lived experience for Black artists from the 1920s till up to today. And it's more so, it's so educational. I think, you know, we're in a time where we educate to elevate. Oftentimes you hear it, okay, yeah, you know, wage disparities, et cetera. But when you see the stories, when you hear the accounts, and you get the aha goes off. Personally, I was doing this job, narrating, and I was like, this is a masterclass.
Even you learned things from it.
Oh, not only did I learn things, I realized that I definitely have experienced a lot of it.
Okay, I want to talk to you about your personal experience, but let's go through the 3 episodes to give people an overview. The first really takes a look at the earliest days. I mean, this starts from the earliest days, goes right up to the streaming age. The first episode, we're introduced to some of the biggest names in the industry and find out what happened to them. So what happens in the first episode?
You think about you know, someone like Nina Simone, you know, Bessie Smith. You think about somebody like Little Richard, for example. We hear Tutti Frutti already. We're dancing, jamming, not realizing that, oh, wow, there was another artist named Pat Boone that re-recorded Tutti Frutti and got a lot of the credit, including the royalties. So just going down the line and you're hearing about these amazing artists.
Billie Holiday.
Billie Holiday,
who
perished at 44 years old, right? And was an activist in her own right, was singing about what was happening, men hanging from trees. Like, it's this history, and it's just so eye-opening, things that I had no idea. As a Black woman, an artist, a singer, you think you know, but you have no idea, right? And now I'm like, wow.
In response to what was happening, what we learn in episode 2 and what we know about is, of course, the rise of the Black-owned record labels. So Motown going up to Def Jam.
Right.
But they themselves weren't above exploiting their artists. That's part of what we learn in the second episode. Highlight some of the things that we'll discover in that part.
Well, you start to realize that it's systemic, right? It's like we're talking about Black artists not getting paid either just desserts or their dues, for example. However, even though it's Black-owned, the system is still white. The system was still created so that it was for the labels to make that money, right? It was unfair. But so many people, so many artists just needed a way out of their situation, a way out of whatever was happening in their life at the time, right? So systems are systems. They need to be dismantled and rebuilt, basically.
Smokey Robinson's part of this in the second part, because, of course, he is so tied to Motown. And in the third episode, it takes us right into the streaming age. And we're going to learn something. This is about the money and getting paid for what should be paid. And we're going to learn about something called a 360 contract. I hadn't heard that before, but let's listen to a little bit of a clip. This is from Ice-T from the third part of the documentary series.
The 360 deal, you might get $500,000, you might get $1 million, but they can cross-collateralize that against your merch, against your tour, and they probably gonna ask for all your publishing. So say, for instance, you get one hit record and you do this deal. The label owns you forever.
one-hit record, and you do this deal, and the label owns you forever, from music and to copyright, the whole bit. So it's 360. It's all-encompassing.
It's all-encompassing, and for some it makes sense. For some, it's like, this is my opportunity. This is I could get this deal and leverage having a manager, having publishing, having merch, my touring, you name it, right? But for others, I was in a situation where I wasn't signed to a 360, right? But when the 360 came about, I had to make a decision. Is this for me? Am I going to amalgamate everything, consolidate everything, or am I going to go at it independently, right? And I took the independent route. Hasn't been the easiest, but it's been so fulfilling and gratifying. And
well, I wanted to ask you about that because you told our producer that you're very grateful that someone gave you advice early on. You heeded it.
Yes.
And it's made a difference in your career. Who was the person who gave you advice?
Oh,
and what
I
did
don't know
that
if I should
person
say her
say?
name.
Oh, okay. Well, tell us a little bit about that, because you listened and you did it. And what difference has it made, do you think, for you?
It's 21 years ago. A good friend of mine became a lawyer, and she told me, "Don't take the advance. Just have them support you with your legal fees," which was like $75,000 versus $2,500.
Wow, that's a big gamble.
Big gap at like 20 years old, right? Coming out of the inner city, I'm like, whoa. But I did heed her advice, and now when people need to license my music, they come directly to me. My royalties come to me, and that, it took a while, but this is forever. And what I also did is in my will, I've willed my publishing to my late sister's kids.
Really?
Yeah.
So again, by controlling that, you were able to do that and continue the legacy.
Yeah.
You were good to listen to. It's good advice. We're going to find out her name if we need some legal work.
Right.
But we're talking about the earliest days and now. Has it changed? Is it better? What's the overall learning that you take away from all of this that you think we will appreciate at the end of this 3-part series?
I think the world will appreciate the work that goes into making this music, longevity, being able to be relevant, and knowing that there's really hard decisions for us to make as creators, as artists, and it is a business. It is the music business. Mm-hmm. So I often tell mentees, learn the business of music. Yes, you have talent, but financial literacy, and you have to just realize, take a moment to see what will work for you. For some, the 360 deal is for them, right? It's their only way.
Not necessarily a bad thing.
Not necessarily a bad thing for them, right? But it's very, very individual. I've watched it 3 times through already, and I can't wait to sit and have watch parties with my friends, my family. I want this to be in schools. I want this to be a part of the curriculum. Right? Like this education, because now when you listen to music, when you're in the grocery store, you're at the gym, you realize, oh, there's a royalty. Somebody should be paid for this. Are they?
Is it the right person?
Is it the right person? Right? It's like looking at your brands. I did a whole thing about the garment industry. Same thing with music. I want people to really take a moment and be like, okay, so that guitar line, there's a part in the documentary before we go. It's like they're talking about the Pat Boone to Little Richie, right? But it's similar to if Jully Black sang an Adele song, would it get that same amount of attention? Ed Sheeran did a reggae song, but if my friend that does reggae music did that same song, would it get the same attention? There's novelty around white faces having a black sound or a soulful sound.
There's a lot to
There's a lot to it.
From
Lots
the
to learn
series,
from.
I think.
And the flip
so.
side, black people making country music.
Yes, for sure. I mean, she got shut out of the
Right.
awards just the other Beyonce with her album, which was so successful.
Right.
But how was she met in terms of award success? It is a really interesting discussion.
Yeah. So learn the history and know that music is language. Music is the only thing, the only language that the entire world speaks and understands. I may not speak your native tongue, but we speak music. We could sing the same song.
You bet. I like, what do you, educate?
Educate to elevate.
Educate to elevate.
Yeah.
That's a good closing thought. All right, we will watch the series, and thanks for coming in. Looking forward to it. A 3-part documentary series, Paid in Full, The Battle for Black Music. And again, it starts streaming on September the 21st on CBC Gem.